In this video, I will provide an overview of how software can assist in the creativity process. This will include a specific focus on creativity support systems towards the second half of the video. First, I would like to begin by discussing the contents of this video. We will start by discussing ways to characterize software which can assist in the creative process. So we can consider characteristics from many perspectives, such as human-computer interaction. Specifically, we can consider the many features which can be involved in the software and how they can be used to enhance creativity. It is very important to consider that creativity is an extensive process and many features can be incorporated into the software which can help a person potentially be more creative. Now, some of these include things such as time management, which we will discuss later on. But the main point is that a lot of these may be non-obvious at first or seem a little bit trivial or even silly. But once you consider them in the context of what they're actually trying to do, it can be much more useful. Primarily, we will consider points of view from two specific research papers. Next, we will consider classifications of software which can assist in the creative process. So several or multiple pieces of software which share similar characteristics can be grouped together to form a specific classification. Next, we will discuss the stages of the creative process, and we'll specifically look at two comprehensive literature reviews which actually demonstrate which phases of the creativity process software is often used in and how many phases they're used in. Now, as we go forward with this video, one of the most important things to consider is that software which is designed to enhance creativity may not actually be successful. Software may be designed to do one thing, but fail in that potential endeavor. Now, it's important to notice that this video won't actually evaluate whether software does increase creativity. That may be for a future video, but in this particular video, we're not going to look at whether software can increase creativity. As we go through this video, please remember that this is an overview of the concepts here. If you wish to know more about the information which is being presented in detail, please refer to the references which have been provided and the last slide of the video. So first, let's consider ways to characterize software. So I discussed that there were two different research papers which we would review in regards to this. Let's look at the first one. So with the first one, the first category that we can use to categorize software which may assist in the creativity process is it used by an individual or a group? In other words, is it used for collaboration? The second one is the approach. So how does the actual software, what approach does the software take to try and increase creativity? For example, if we consider creativity technique orientated, perhaps the software is designed to suggest or guide the user through one or multiple creativity enhancing techniques. So these may include things like brainstorming or things such as 6 Thinking Hats or Random Word by Edward de Bono, or also other techniques such as those that come under the TRIZ family of problem-solving techniques. Where it is discussing communication orientated, this may include simple features which allow group members of a team to communicate. So this may even be things such as email or even group chat software. Again, if you're working in a team, in order to increase your creativity as a team, communication is very important. So although this may seem very obvious, it is still a feature which must be inbuilt into the software to actually allow them to become more creative. The next characteristic of the software is its purpose. In other words, was it designed for idea stimulation generation and evaluation? Was it designed for decision alternative generation and evaluation? Or was it designed for concept design? So if you don't know what these mean, they are discussed more in this paper which is being referenced here. Now, the part where it's talking about idea stimulation, generation, and evaluation, we'll actually be expanding upon this quite a bit more later in the video. Now, the last characteristic is actually the type of information system or the classification which has been given to that information system. So what you can see here are our 6 acronyms which stand for different classifications of software. You don't need to worry about that at this stage because these will be discussed later during the video. Let's now consider the second research paper which characterizes ways in which software can be designed to assist in the creativity process. So one highly influential paper is the one published in 2005 by Lubart. So Lubart proposed a classification of 4 categories of human-computer interaction to promote creativity. In the first of the 4 categories of human-computer interaction, the computer works as a nanny. Now this is primarily related to things such as management of creative work, and this can involve simple things such as setting deadlines, reminders, and also reducing fatigue. So for example, it may actually encourage the user to get up every hour. Now these things may sound like they're limited to time management, but it's very important to understand that it is very hard to be creative if you're feeling tired or lethargic or you're just not happy. So having the computer work as a nanny can help overcome one of these barriers. In the second category, the computer works as a pen pal. Now this expands a little bit upon what we discussed before with communication-oriented approaches. So when the computer is working as a pen pal, it allows communication between individuals that are collaborating on creative projects as part of a team. And again, as mentioned before, this could include things such as email, group chat software, or also conferencing software. For the third category, the computer acts as a coach. Now in this aspect, the computer acts as an expert who is knowledgeable in creativity-relevant techniques. For example, the computer can provide different alternative ways of approaching a problem, such as it may try and provide analogies or creativity heuristics. Now it's important to understand that the computer may be suggesting ways which are completely stupid, but they still allow the person to consider, is this technique or is this analogy useful for potentially trying to come up with a good way to resolve this problem? Can it give me an innovative idea, for example? The last category is where the computer can act as a colleague. Now this very much is human-computer cooperation during idea production, or idea generation as it is often called. Now when this category is being used, it means that the computer may actually suggest ideas using things such as artificial intelligence. This is where it's working as a colleague. Instead of passively helping the user to try and generate ideas, it is actively suggesting ideas or ways to actually make the process or the product be more creative. Okay, so we have previously discussed features and or characteristics which can be used to describe software which can be used for trying to increase creativity. I previously mentioned that you can also try and group software which have similar features or characteristics together under a specific named classification. So let's now look at what some of those classifications are. Now a good research paper is the one presented on screen. So this will present 6 types of what is known as creativity support systems. Now we're going to actually explain what creativity support systems are in the next slide, but we'll come back to that. Now as we go through this list, I'm not going to be able to explain each one of these in a large amount of detail because those could be a video each of their own. So if you're interested as to what these software specifically involve, I encourage you to have a look at that in your own time. Let's start with the first. So the first one is one of the most common ones, and it is what is called a decision support software. Now this is a type of software which is often used in management within corporations as to help them make decisions as it suggests. The next one is known as knowledge management system. Then we have computer-mediated communication. Now this is similar again, coming back to what we've already mentioned, things such as conferencing software or even email. Then we have group support systems. So the 5th classification is known as electronic brainstorming. Electronic brainstorming is somewhat similar to the brainstorming you may be familiar with, where you are typically face-to-face with a group of other people and you can each contribute ideas. Electronic brainstorming is also something which is usually completed as a group. However, the difference is that every single person generally has their own computer. And what they do is they have some software where they can type ideas and then these ideas will instantly appear on the other group members' computer screens. So this allows each group member to contribute ideas and then see what their other group members have also written. Now this is good because it can be anonymous and it means that you can type ideas as soon as they come to mind, and quickly we can get a large number of ideas to consider. The last classification which appears in this list is creativity support software. However, I think that this one is a little bit vague and is not necessarily that well explained in the research paper, and it may actually be synonymous with creativity support systems, which we'll explain in the next slide. So when we consider these 6 classifications, you may actually argue that there are some things which are missing, and I would potentially agree. So 2 things which could arguably be put into this list are certain types of computer-aided design and certain types of computer-aided innovation software. Now, one of the most important things when considering any of these classifications is that not all software which may fall under any of these classifications may actually be designed to enhance creativity. They may just be simply designed to do something without trying to specifically enhance creativity. Quoting an important research paper from 1990, for example, a traditional decision support system is not an appropriate tool to use for tasks designed to employ the unique features of creativity-enhancing decision support systems. So at this time, we have now considered features and/or characteristics which may be present in software which is designed to enhance the creativity process. We've also considered different types or classifications of this type of software. However, one of the things we have to consider is what actually counts as creativity-enhancing software, and is there a general term we can try and use to refer to this type of software which isn't long, such as software designed to enhance the creativity process? Is there something better which is generally used throughout the literature? Now, there's not a uniform term which is generally agreed upon, but there is one which can be potentially useful to us. Now, one widely used term is creativity support system. One of the more widely used terms, which could arguably include most of the classifications or all of the classifications from the previous slide, are creativity support systems. Now, unfortunately, there are many different definitions of this which have been provided by different researchers, but let's actually consider some of them to try and understand what the definition may be and whether we can try and use creativity support system to try and describe any software which may help during the creative process or not. So let's look at 3 definitions given by different researchers. So for the first one, creativity support system is defined as a class of information systems encompassing diverse types of information systems that share the purpose of enhancing creativity. Now, you're going to see the term information system quite a lot. If you don't know what that is, I encourage you to go away and find out for yourself. The second definition of creativity support system is a specialized information system that contribute to innovation processes in companies, such as product design, idea generation, research and development, etc. Another definition is computer-based systems that support individual and group-level problem-solving in an effort to enhance creative outcomes. Now, one of the things that you can notice is that the definitions which are given here are somewhat different. However, they all refer to software which has specifically been designed for enhancing creativity. So therefore, it is quite arguably suitable to try and use the term creativity support system as an umbrella term which may be used to define all types of software which may be used to enhance a person's creativity. Okay, so we've spent quite a lot of time talking about the software, but we haven't actually spent time talking about phases of the creativity process. Therefore, let's spend some time to do this. First, let's look at which phases of the creativity process do support systems generally help with. Second, how many phases of the creativity process do support systems generally help with? So in order to do this, we're going to consider 2 very recent and comprehensive literature reviews on this topic. First, we're going to consider one that was done by Gabriel et al. In 2016. Now, in this study, they broke down the creativity process into 3 stages: problem analysis, ideation, and evaluation. Now, we can try and argue whether it should be broken down into 3 or more stages, but we're going to consider it as it is presented in this paper. Now, we will also consider another study by Wang et al., published in 2017. In this study, the creative process was broken down into 4 distinct phases: problem finding, information finding, idea finding, and solution finding. Again, if you want to know why they respectively broke it down into 3 or 4 stages each, I would encourage you to actually read the studies which have been referenced on the last slide of the video. So the study that was done in 2016 looked at a total of 49 studies, while the study that was done in 2017 looked at a total of 48 studies. Now what you can see here is a breakdown of the number of studies which actually showed that the software was used in each stage of the creative process. So in other words, out of the 49 studies that were looked at by Gabriel et al., a total of 14 were identified to be used in the problem analysis stage, 41 were used in the ideation stage, while 20 were used in the evaluation stage. For Wang et al. In 2017, out of the 48 studies, a total of 7 were used for problem finding, a total of 19 were used for information finding, a total of 44 were used for idea finding or ideation, and a total of 20 were used for solution finding. Now, if these numbers don't seem to add up, don't worry about that. It's because that many of the systems cover more than one phase, and we're going to talk about this more in the next slide. Now, the main thing to take away from looking at these graphs, it is very clear that most of the software is designed to at least help with the ideation phase. So ideation is clearly the phase of the creativity process, which a lot of the software is designed to actually help a user during. Okay, now let's consider how many phases of the creativity process that software often actually covers. Again, we're going to refer to the same two studies because they also look at this information. What we can see is that many support systems for the creativity process only cover one phase of the creativity process, and overwhelmingly, it's most likely to actually be the ideation phase. Now, it's not necessarily clear why the reason for this may be. It may be because it may be easier to make software which is easier for ideation, or maybe there is simply more consumer demand for software where the focus is on ideation. However, if you actually read these two studies, the authors, in generally both cases, show that there needs to be a consideration of the overall creativity process when designing the software. And ideally, the software should try and cover all phases of the creativity process and not just ideation. Now, if you want to know more about the information presented in this video or check the references for yourself, you can see a list of the research papers which have actually been used as the basis for the information presented in this study. Now, some of the information which I have presented here has been quite restricted. There may be better sources which could provide some of this information, but this is at least a good starting point if you're interested in learning about how creativity can be influenced by software or creativity support systems in general. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.